Welcome back. As we've been talking about, ABC's reaction today to Roseanne Barr's racist tweet was swift and decisive. The network said, quote, Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values, and we've decided to cancel her show. This is an example of how corporate America is drawing a line when it comes to bad behavior. Of course, Roseanne and anyone else in this country has the right to free speech. And in this age where the president and his allies decry so-called political correctness, where's the line these days between what you can say and what you can't? Joining me now is David French. He's a senior fellow at the National Review Institute, and Jamil Smith, a senior writer at Rolling Stone. Both have talked a lot about this. Jamil, let me start with you. You weren't ready to start anointing and praising ABC because you still are troubled by the decision they made to get into business with Roseanne in the first place.
Right. I mean, I think, Chuck, what we're seeing here is they decided that they wanted to carve out a piece of this particular audience. They thought that this audience was ripe for exploitation, this audience that supported the president, that talked like the president, and they've chosen, they chose to get in bed with a known Twitter troll who has been racist and anti-Semitic on the particular website for years. And so they knew what they were getting into, but they chose to do so with, not really thinking about the consequences. And that's all that's really at stake here. It's not about whether or not free speech, her free speech is in jeopardy. It's about the fact that she was racist and there are consequences for that racism.
David French, you're, as someone described you on my Sunday show, you're one of those free speech conservatives, whatever that means to this person. And this person was quick to say, I'm not one of them. When we were talking about the NFL, for instance, and you believe what the NFL do is wrong on free speech grounds. But you were quick also to condemn Roseanne here and almost sort of like, I mean, are we shocked that Roseanne was a cause of this controversy if you've followed Roseanne? And you seem to also have the same question that Jamil had. What was ABC thinking in the first place?
Right. I mean, nobody's covered themselves in glory here. What is ABC doing hiring a person for whom racist and anti-Semitic is the beginning of the indictment against this person, not the sum total of the indictment? And then also what we have to deal with here is, like, look, I am a free speech conservative, and that means I believe that the government, of course, should respect your free speech rights, and I go beyond that, and I say that corporations should have a high degree of tolerance for political disagreement. But that's not the same thing as saying that corporations should tolerate out-and-out indecency. There are still lines that exist here. And it's hard to find anyone who would say that Roseanne's conduct didn't cross that line and didn't cross it pretty decisively. And, ABC hired crazy, it got crazy.
The other thing that's interesting to me is ABC think this is what the Trump viewer wants, is Roseanne's form of whatever this is? I don't want to call it conservatism. This isn't fair to conservatives out there. But is Roseanne the caricature of the Trump supporter that President Trump wants out there?
Well, it seems that he does. He seems that he supports anyone who speaks like him and gets high ratings and whatnot. But I think that you make a good point. I think that Roseanne, as she articulated her character on this new incarnation of her show, was a caricature of the Trump voter and the so-called Trump voter. And I think it's damaging in two respects. One, it certainly demeans these people even while it claims to entertain them. But also it characterizes the Trump voter as poor, as working class, as white, when in fact, frankly, the Trump voter was a lot wealthier on average than the Clinton voter. And so we need to really find storytelling that articulates the complexities, the nuances of our, frankly, not just our racial politics, but our politics in general.
David, same question to you. I mean, it feels as if this is a caricature of the Trump voter that frankly is kind of a lazy caricature. If you think Roseanne is the average Trump voter, again, I would call that a lazy caricature.
Well, it's a lazy caricature that Trump himself embraced. Remember, he called her to congratulate her for her ratings. Look, our society has a very unhealthy relationship to celebrity, and conservatives are not an exception to that. I mean, they will embrace a celebrity who embraces them, or at least appears to embrace them, almost no matter what that celebrity has done in the past. And, the national anthem is in the news. Colin Kaepernick has been extraordinarily respectful of the flag compared to Roseanne Barr and her legendary national anthem performance. So the rule of celebrity should not be, if someone famous reaches out to me, I have to hug them back. No, you got to have standards.
Well, and that's what this gets at, Jamil, is that corporate America did, look, she was valuable financially. You could make that argument. She was valuable financially. And they chose, I mean, she was the center, as you heard earlier, she was the centerpiece of the sort of sitcom strategy, you could argue, from ABC, or at least another one to say, hey, look, we are the Bella, you know, whatever. We have the rainbow flag of political opinion on ABC sitcoms. And they did choose their standards over profits.
Right. And I think that you see they're, you know, at least they were wise enough to correct it. The NFL, on the other hand, has not been. The NFL has said, well, you know, we're going to not only embrace the mischaracterization of Colin Kaepernick's protest in making new policy to end those protests, but we're also going to, you know, essentially, you know, throw a little bit of money at social justice and consider that enough. I think that ABC recognize, or at least they should, that they have to do more than this, that they have to understand from the very beginning, from the conceptualization process, that you can't hire people who are liable to behave like this in public. And I think, first of all, and if anyone is comparing Kaepernick to Barr, I think that, you know, it's not exactly the right comparison to make.
No, it's not. But David French, you do point out kneeling is a very respectful thing to do in general. And I think that was the point you were trying to make. Roseanne Barr, multiple times with the flag and the national anthem, has actually specifically disrespected it in ways that I think you're wondering, where's that outrage? Anyway, David French, Jamil Smith, thank you both for being on, sharing your views. I appreciate it. And we'll be right back.